that's the updates on tanks here, except for Acro eating flatworms, 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 flatworms.
Yuck.
So I was in Vegas helping to direct a show, which was really fun. I can't talk about it, but it was really fun. And I got home and I noticed one of my $500 E-Flow colonies looked wrong. You know that feeling? And Beefers, I promise that I'm trying to remember when that happens to go, I should record this before I do something about it. But I get into that. I better help these animals right now. But it looked wrong. It looked pale. It looked like it had lost color. It looked bad. And I put a flashlight on it and was able to look under it and saw a crap ton of acro eating flatworm eggs. And and this is near that colony that had some acro eating flatworms.
Do you think they just migrated over?
A month or two ago, yeah. I mean, you know, I know they're in the system. I know I'm not eradicating them. So every once in a while, they're going to pop up somewhere. And they often tend to be sequestered on one colony for a long time. So we'll see. And I don't think it's a disaster. You know, you say, and I know I see a lot of people online nowadays who, when they see it, they go, break down the tank and start again. And it's like, no.
Well, I know what you're saying. It's like, you know, when I'm at a client, so I'm looking everything over. I was like, damn it. And I see a little aptasia. And I use F-aptasia too. And I go zap it right away.
Yeah. So I pulled the colony out. It's about the size of my hand. And I'm going to show you some pictures of it right now.
Oh, crapola.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are
egg masses?
No, those are actual flatworms.
Ugh.
Right? Does that look pretty big on the screen? Oh, here we go. Watch this. We could do this.
Seems like it. Wow.
Yeah. So here's the characteristic bite marks. Can you see the little hand?
Yeah. Little like they're lighter colored, like chew marks.
Yeah. On the screen, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So those
like a
are
Mickey Mouse hand.
Yeah. So those are characteristic bite marks, but it's been, in my experience, rare to actually see the flatworms, and you can totally see these fucking flatworms there.
Wait, let me ask you a question. That I know, like on a healthy acro, that it does have tissue on the bottom, of course, but it's not, you know, hardcore tip. But they still love to eat that down there on the bottom.
Sure looks like it. I mean, look, you can see the bite marks.
I wonder if they sort of do that on purpose, because to get out on. Not that it's an intelligent creature or anything, but to get up on the top leaves you like exposed.
Well, they do lay their eggs under there, like on this edge. You know, they can lay eggs on both sides underneath it. I'll show you. I think I have some video of that too. So they do go under there, and it would make them probably less likely to get predated on.
Yeah.
But let's see what else we have to see. Here's eggs.
Oh my God.
Right, so that's a lot of eggs.
Not the eggs, but if you
These are all egg masses.
I was gonna say if you dipped in fresh water, but I remember you were telling me that acros are especially do not like freshwater dips.
They don't like it. So look, here's some more pics. I got some videos somewhere.
Oh, those eggs are
Those are the eggs. These are the ones I saw with the flashlight.
What about hitting that with a toothbrush?
Well, I ended up just using a dental pick and just scraping them all off.
Oh, go away.
And this is a good ending. Oh, look, here's a flatworm right there.
Yeah, it's like you can almost barely notice it until you see it.
Yeah, right? Let's see. There should be some video. Here we go. Let's see if it'll play.
What's that white thing to the right?
That's some super glue.
Okay, I thought it looked like that.
Yeah, so you can see them all over it, right?
My God. What are the chances that they're just on that? Probably nil.
I don't know. I found a small frag of red planet that had it on there as well. But that was a compromised one. I'm trying to see if on these edges you can see any eggs. So that's a pretty solid acro eating
Infestation.
flatworm infestation, right? On a coral. Here you can see the top of it. Let's see. Let's see what this video looks
Oh,
like.
there's a ton of bite marks.
Right? You could see all the bite marks on the top. So you could see why I was like, that coral does not look right. Right? Let's just show that again so people can see.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's what I saw, and it looked terrible, right?
Yeah.
And you know, but look at those bite marks, right?
That's a ton of them.
And that's on the top.
Yeah. Maybe they came out at
Look,
night and did
so
that.
yeah, here's a flatworm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Here's another flatworm.
There's another one at the very top.
Up here, yep. Look at that motherfucker. And you can see the bite marks over here.
Damn. A smorgasbord.
A smorgas, and there's one in the, that's what they look like at the bottom of the bucket. Again, I love that you can see.
So what dip is there that you can piss them off that doesn't piss off the SPS?
I just want to show you this one other thing here. This is where that coral came out of. Can't even tell that it was there.
Yeah.
So I'm stopping sharing now. And what did you ask? And then I'll tell you what I did with all these fucking things.
It sounds kind of crazy because a lot of my experience, of course I have tanks at home, but a lot of my experience is through what I do at my clients. And man, knock on wood, I'm super lucky. And it's probably because, I don't really do only SPS tanks. I usually have an SPS in a tank here and there.
Sure.
But I've call me crazy, but in all the stuff I've done, I've never had to come across acro eating flatworms.
You are
myself.
Crazy. You're crazy.
But I still have the client that had the Monopora eating nudibranchs. We thought they went away, and just last week they cropped up. They don't go away. I don't think so.
So when we talk about, this is one of the reasons why I just went, super quarantine crazy does not help me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure these acro eating flatworms are the same ones, that have been there but in remission, for like 2010 or whenever I wrote that article.
Damn.
So I just do the same thing that I did back then. I don't, people freak out about acro eating flatworms and they want to tear their tank down and start again and pull everything out. And I just pull the infected coral out. And if it's like a frag of something I have duplicates of, I just toss it. Because why bother with that, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, most of my corals are started on a rock that's glued to the rockscape.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the corals I can jiggle and they will break off, even if they've grown huge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still able to get them out relatively easily. I don't let really stuff grow onto the rockwork proper, or I try not to, because then you can never get it out.
Yeah.
And I do that for disease, but also I like to move stuff around. And if it's encrusted onto something that can't move. So I almost always use a piece of rock rubble of whatever size, couple inches. Usually I'll start it small, to tell you the truth, about an inch. And then when that frag encrusts on that, I will then put that on a bigger rock, right?
Yeah.
So it's easier to move. So I can move all these corals. So if there's a problem, I just can pull them out. So I pulled this one out and I dipped it in Revive, because Revive does a really nice job of
two little fishies.
Making the flatworms let go. And then I basted it and got a bunch of flatworms off. Not that many more than we could see, which is nice. But clearly those were big and eating. And then I clipped underneath wherever I saw eggs that I could clip really easily. And then I just got a scrapey dental tool out, and because I was gonna glue the eggs, which is something I've done before. But I was like, why am I doing that? Why don't I just scrape them off? Yeah. And so just scrape. Took 5 minutes to just scrape, and they come off really easy. Dip it again, check it again, scrape whatever I missed, dip it again in just salt water, not in Revive again. And then now the coral is up in that tank behind me, and it looks fine. This was 2 days ago, and I'm almost gonna just put it right back in.
Its color is trying to come back.
Its color has recovered amazingly.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't even see the bite marks.
Huh.
When I pull it out, I hope you could still hear me as I was talking.
Yeah.
When I pull it out, we'll revisit this, and I'll take pictures of it, and I'll let you know if I put it back in. It may go under the house for growth because, like I showed that picture, you can't really tell it's there. And now actually fish are hanging out in that space, so I kind of like having it out.
So here's a question.
But hold on. But if I
Okay.
move it downstairs, whenever I pull it out, I'll take pictures of it again, and we'll look at it again. And you know what I'll try to do is I'll do it tomorrow, and then it'll be like 3 days of recovery, and we can look before and after how quickly they can recover after you remove the pest. Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted your question.
No. Would a acro-eating flatworm, if you put it, you know, in your holding thing under the house that's tied to that system, is an acro-eating flatworm able to like crawl through all the pipes and still make it back into your, or is that like a journey way too far?
I think they're pretty local, and I think they're not going to travel far if they don't have to. And I don't even know how long they live without food. I'm not up on the current research on them. Maybe beefers, if you know about this, let me know. Let us know in the comments. But only the first time I had them were they everywhere in the tank, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's my fault. It's the same with Bryopsis, like we were talking in another show. If you don't catch it, it's going to be everywhere, and then you're in trouble. If you catch it and deal with it, you know, like I said, I pulled this colony out, and then I found acro-eating flatworms on a small piece of red planet on the other side of the tank, actually. But this was a piece of red planet that wasn't doing well anyway, so it was interesting. So I chunked it because I've got a lot of that. So I tend, and I basted all the corals that were in proximity to this. And
I mean, that could be interesting too. In that system that you put under the house, like you get the F-flow and it had acro-eating flatworms, and you do all your stuff to get them off, and then let it recoup in there, because if you missed something, like it would be a journey too far for them to make it back into the tank.
Yeah, but I think I'm actually pretty okay with scraping the eggs and having to pulled the whole thing out and cutting a bunch of eggs off.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident there is no acro-eating flatworms on there. I'll dip it again and examine it again as well.
yeah.
But if they're not there, they're not there. And I know they're in my system, right?
Would your laser cut one right in half if it was in the aquarium?
I think it would. I've killed flatworms with the laser before.
And they're not the type of, what are those things, nematodes or whatever, that thing where they cut them in half and it just makes two of them. They don't do that, do they?
I'm not sure, but I don't think they do. But it won't cut them in half. They get freaked
Fine.
out, and then you just keep burning them till they shrink. I've also used the laser on the eggs, but the problem is the eggs you can't see.
Oh, that's
Right?
true.
So it's not. It doesn't strike me as the most useful way to treat them.
You got to sort of physically pull it out and physically go after them.
Yeah, now I could use the laser to burn them off once I've got the coral out, but a dental pick does it much faster. These guys also sent me one of these, the ITC Reef Delete. It uses, I think it's UVC. I haven't had time to look at it yet.
I heard about that. Isn't it from England?
Yeah. So it uses UVC to fuck up the DNA of stuff and kill it.
And you just shine it at things?
Yeah, and you got to leave it on for 30 seconds or a minute or something like that.
I saw that, but if I remembered, it was a little pricey.
It's a little pricey, but we'll see if it works. It was super out of the blue. They were like, hey, try this and let me know what you think.
You know, and here I am, but no one send me anything.
That's because you're not on the forums and on the social medias.
So, but yeah, I have my peace of mind. You go on there and you go insane, but you get free things.
I do sometimes go insane. Yeah, I get free things. We'll see if it works.
Yeah.
I think this might be a great direction to go. We'll see if this version of it is powerful enough to do what we need it to do.
Would you trust that on Aptasia?
I'm going to try it on Aptasia. But the thing is, again, but you've got to get it like close to it.
Oh.
And it's like,
You can't shine it through your aquarium?
I don't think I haven't opened it up yet, but I think the glass will filter the UVC.
Ah,
So I don't know. I don't know the utility of it, but I could already see if you put it on a flexible shaft head that you could like make into a candy cane so you could come up and underneath a coral.
yeah.
That would be cool,
Yeah.
right? And if it would work on vermitid snails, you get it up under
Scramble
there
their
and shine it right on them. That might be really cool. I believe this thing is just handheld at this point, but I'll open it up. I'll try in the next week or two to get it open and give it a try and see what it does. So yeah, I when I wrote the first article about acro eating flatworms, I didn't think they were a death sentence then. I don't really have any fish that are trained anymore to eat them. We used to base them off the coral, and then fish would come over and eat them once they were in the water column. I had an angel that looked at a floating flatworm last night and was like, what the fuck is that?
You're like, eat it, eat it. And he's like, nah.
So that went somewhere in the tank. There's some adult, they're in there.
Yeah.
But it's just, we keep coming back to it and talking about it. Don't let it get out of hand. Know what you're looking for, right? So, I immediately saw something was wrong. I immediately saw the bite marks. I immediately saw, right? So it had gotten to a point where it was bad for that particular coral.
I mean, can't you kind of say it's like a fire in your kitchen?
Sure.
Or like a fire in your wastebasket in your house. Like put it out, or just stand there and watch your whole house catch on fire.
Right. So don't do that. When you see when you see a candle falling over in your house, do something about it now. And it's the same
with the walls on fire.
With algae and pests in your tank.
Yeah.
When you see a problem, deal with it.
Now granted, I don't normally deal with hobbyists, but sometimes I take over a new account and I'm sitting there with the new client and we're looking around. I'm like, oh, there's an aptasia. And they're like, what, where? And they're like, how do you see that? And it's like, I mean, this is my job. I look for stuff like that and I see it. And then I'm like, oh crap, there's 5. And he's like, oh, I didn't even see those.
Yeah.
It's like, man, no big deal on the person, but if you're a hobbyist, you got to know, like Richard did, that coral doesn't look good. What does that tell me? Oh, I better look under it. Bada boom.
But you won't know to do all that until you experience it, right?
Yeah.
So I understand how acro eating flatworms get by people, or how red bugs get by people, because they just don't know to look for it, right?
Yeah.
And I suppose the same could be true of algae, that people they don't really clock that it's a little bit of algae. That if they did something about it right now, it would be easy. But if they waited 6 weeks.
Well, and the thing is, they're all on the forum or at the local store or calling their buddy and like, what's the deal? What, and everyone has these long conversations. Oh, it could be this, and you're just like racking your brain. But it's like, meanwhile, remove it.
If people said it could be this, I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
But they go, no, that is definitely deadly nightshade in your tank. It's going to kill everything. You better start it up again.
Yeah.
Ah.
I mean, pests of all sort are ever present. You don't start tanks over. You just learn how to deal with them.
Right. It's like what I learned last year. The dishes never get finished. There's never not going to be dishes, right? And in my head, it was like, these fucking dishes. If we could streamline it, there wouldn't be dishes. It's like, no, there's always dishes. And it's the same thing with all the shit in your reef tank. It's not a fucking painting that you put up on the wall and then dust every 3 years. It's a fucking living ecosystem that needs to be tended. Your garden needs to be tended. Your house needs to be tended. Your fucking kids need to be tended. Everything needs to be tended. Nothing is set and forget. I'm trying to figure out where this idea of like, I want to have this complicated ecosystem with animals that interact with each other, but I never want to do anything to it.
Well, I mean, I'm the one that comes across so many new reefers in my line of work. And you do get, I think, people coming into it and they don't have the proper expectation of how much it could cost. and they don't have much of an expectation of how complicated that it can be. And I guess it depends on your region, but you'll hear an occasional store, not that you hear, but the client tells me what they've been told, and like, oh, so-and-so said, that it was pretty easy. It's funny, we can go on forums and argue all day long too, because like, if you walked up to Richard and I and say like, is keeping a reef tank easy? I mean, I don't think my answer would ever be yes, because there's just so many things. It's a complicated hobby.
I know my answer because people ask me that. And my answer is always something like, once you have the experience to understand what's going on, it becomes easy.
Yeah.
And then my wife goes, bullshit. You spend way more time than you think, but forget that part. Once you kind of have your husbandry down and you've got some experience and it's not your first rodeo, it's not hard anymore. I never feel like I'm being buried under a problem. I mean,
well, we got past that a long time ago.
Yeah. When, somebody, last time I answered, I said something about Acro eating flatworms. Some of the comments were, oh my God, he's so calm. It's like, it's just like bryopsis to me.
And they're done that.
It's just a thing to deal with.
We did another thing where we had a show where we were talking about dinos, and you and I think we're like a little flippant about it. And we got a comment on the YouTube channel where someone said, it doesn't sound like you've dealt with those. And I don't want to sound like an arrogant asshole, but I've been doing this for 25 years. I've pretty much dealt with everything, minus a little bit of acro eating flatworms or whatnot. But I mean, of course I've dealt with dinos. It's just, you get a different attitude about them, about these pests and these problems.
Yeah.
Once you've boned through it a couple times.
The, one of the tanks behind here that I turned the lights off for cyano. The cyano came back and I just kind of ignored it. I was like, I'm not going to do anything about it. And I ended up getting some cucumbers and Neisseria snails to turn the sand over.
Yeah. And
that's taken 2 or 3 weeks. But I don't see any in that tank today. So that's the other thing is if you're staring at it all the time and obsessing over it, it's going to seem worse than it is. And now it's like, oh, it's just some cyano. If it gets on something, I'll baste it off. I have to pay attention to it while it's here, but it will go, I will get past this. It will burn itself through. I will do something that will help it. I don't need to, shock the tank or pour anything into it, or I just need to figure out a way to deal with it.
I need to take a video of one of these next time I see it. But, a lot of times when someone has a pre-existing tank and then they call me in to help them out.
Yeah.
Like, man, I see I see things that you don't often see very, very much. It's like when you and me or Craig are sitting around talking and Craig's like, yeah, I think, people get a little patch. Like a couple months ago, I came across a tank where the entire inside of I'm not joking at all. The entire inside of the tank was cyanobacteria, the walls, the floor, the everything, cyanobacteria. You wave your hand in there and then you can't even see. It's like a snow globe of cyanobacteria.
Yeah, that's gross.
And they're like, what do we do? And it's like, well, you don't. Yeah, that's one of the cases in that scenario where, we got to scrape everything out of there and redo everything.
We got to siphon a lot. Yeah, if you don't pick up the candle, you're probably calling the fire department in sometime and living in a rental while they rebuild your smoldering crater of a house.
You're still standing outside going, damn it, it's on fire. Why didn't I do anything about that candle?
Don't let it get that bad. But again, I'm going to say I understand how new people to the hobby, they don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get them to know except to say, take your time when you're starting out, don't jump into SPS. Learn it to see if you really want to do this shit.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't, you've only invested $1,000. But if you jump in for a $10,000 system, then you've got to toss that. So that's my acro eating saga.